Hey guys, I am so excited today because today is the day I get to introduce you to the Sweet 16. That's right, the top 16 vote getters in our most courageous American tournament. And this is when it starts to get interesting. We started with 54 viable nominees, and you guys came up with some great people. And then we narrowed it down to 32 in this big general election. Then in the 32, we went head-to-head matches. And in those, and some of those matches, let me tell you, ooh, they were close. One of them was separated by one vote. That's how close these were. But we have 16 incredible candidates that I am so excited to share. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this started right now. In our first matchup, we have a doozy. We have Wells Crowther versus Mum Bet. Now, Wells Crowther was a hero of 9/11, risking his life to save others. That's right, it's the man in the red bandana. But not to be outdone, Mum Bet saw her chance for freedom under the 1780 Massachusetts Bay Colony Constitution and realized that she could actually sue for her freedom. And that's exactly what she did. Going through the court system, she stood up, faced the challenge, and earned her freedom. And in doing so is going to launch the civil rights movement for the United States moving forward. In our next matchup, oh my gosh, two World War II heroes, Audie Murphy and Doris Miller. Audie Murphy is the most decorated American soldier in U.S. history, not only earning the Medal of Honor, but also some 20 different medals for his valiant and courageous efforts in World War II. Not to be outdone, Doris Miller, simple cook during the Pearl Harbor attack, was going to throw his pots and pans aside, pick up a gun, and start firing on the Japanese ships as they descend, or Japanese planes as they descended down upon him, earning him the U.S. Naval Cross. What a representation of World War II here. Next, we have JFK versus Rosa Parks. JFK not only served in the military during World War II, but is going to serve as President of the United States, ushering us through or into the space race as well as through the Cuban Missile Crisis. A civil rights activist on his own, he's going up against Rosa Parks, who decided to sit down for what she felt we should all stand up for, and that was equality for all people, regardless of the color of their skin. Her actions are going to lead to the Montgomery bus boycott, which is going to elevate one Martin Luther King Jr. to the national spotlight and move us towards equality for all. Our next matchup, Frederick Douglass, former slave who educated himself and then tried to educate the world about the evils of slavery. He was an abolitionist, he fought for women's rights, and he was paramount during the civil rights movement of the 1850s, 60s, and 70s. He's going up against Roy Benavides, hero who was once told, based on injuries he sustained in the Vietnam War, that he would never walk again. And what did he do? Not only did he walk again, he ran right into the Green Beret and met their challenges and went back to fight in Vietnam. He will become a Medal of Honor winner awarded to him by President Ronald Reagan. Our next matchup is a matchup of the ladies, Clara Barton versus Jane Addams. We know Clara Barton from the Civil War, where she worked as a nurse, tirelessly going out onto the dangerous battlefield to help those wounded soldiers at battles such as Antietam, and would later found the American Red Cross. And then, of course, Jane Addams, who was a ray of sunshine and hope for so many immigrants and women in our country, creating a sanctuary for them where they not only were educated, but they were aided in finding jobs and a way of life here in this new country. Abraham Lincoln versus Neil Armstrong. These two guys don't even need an introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway. Abraham Lincoln, president during the Civil War, the worst war as far as American casualties in our history, fought first to keep the Union together, but then took it to a higher plane when he said, no, we've got to fight to end this slavery in our country, and signed the Emancipation Proclamation, which would later go on to inspire the 13th Amendment abolishing slavery in our country. Neil Armstrong soared above where all of us live today. He was a man on a mission to the moon, starting off as a test pilot his talents and his efforts are going to lead him to Apollo 11, where he will be the first man to walk on the moon. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, he walked on the moon. It wasn't a stunt. Sojourner Truth versus John Robert Fox. Sojourner Truth, a former slave who in her freedom is going to fight not only for abolition, but for women's rights, for prison reform, for temperance. If there was a reform that would make society better, she was going to fight for it. One of her most famous moments in history is when she stood in front of the Seneca Falls Convention and gave her "Ain't I a Woman" speech. She's facing John Robert Fox. Fox is a new nominee in our bracket this year. He's going to earn that courageous title for actions that he takes during World War II when he sacrifices his life for the lives of his men. Trying to get out of a desperate situation, he sends his men ahead, calls in an artillery strike so his men could escape and the enemy could not advance. That is courageous. Mary E. Walker and George Washington wrap up our Sweet 16. Mary Walker wanted to serve so much. A surgeon, she enlisted during the Civil War only to be told she could be a nurse. But gaining the respect of others, she moved up to be a surgeon and earned the first Medal of Honor for a woman, actually the only woman to win a Medal of Honor in American history. And finally, she's going up against tough competition in George Washington. Soldier, politician, president, all around great guy. We know George Washington and we know what he did. Was it courageous? Well, that's going to be for you to decide. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. The Sweet 16 of the most courageous American tournament of 2020. Your job with this round is you will be assigned one of these candidates, and it's your job to present a visual representation of their courage. Now, it can be a drawing that you do and take a picture. You can upload that. You can create use one of those nice fancy computer apps to do a drawing that way. You can create a Google slide that has, graphic design on that. The only rule, you cannot use any words in your representation. It has to be all graphic. So come up with a way. You're going to have until Tuesday to get this done. You will go to Google Classroom, and there you will be assigned. You will see who you've been assigned. The bracket will be posted, and a number will be next to your name. You will take that number and correspond it to the name in the bracket, and that's your candidate for this round. Hope you have fun with it. We'll see you next time. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. See you Tuesday.